This week's Extra Life on F5 Live Refreshing Technology is proudly powered by EXA. EXA brings the latest technology to gamers, offering the most immersive products for the ultimate gaming experience. They've compiled the best elements of cutting-edge ENC tech, the latest in Bluetooth 5.0 and 7.1 surround, plus extra features into their headsets so everyone can enjoy a sensational gaming experience. And they've got headsets for Xbox, PlayStation, Switch, and PC. Plus, they won't break the bank. Learn more about the headsets that are available and any current promotions by going to f5live.tv/exa. Over the last couple of years, handheld gaming has become a big thing. It used to be a big thing. Nintendo had the Game Boy, Sega had the Game Gear, PlayStation had the PSP, and then it kind of dropped off. Smartphones became common. People were going to that for handheld gaming. But dedicated gaming devices have come back. Obviously, again, Nintendo put that into motion with the Switch. Then Valve came behind with the Steam Deck. And now it seems everybody wants in on the action. And our most recent addition is from Lenovo. It is the Legion Go, which is an interesting combination of things. It is a handheld gaming computer like the Steam Deck with removable controllers like the Switch, and the whole thing runs Windows 11. Now, if you're not watching this sequentially, go back and check out the Pilch Point about Windows 11, but that notwithstanding, it is a full-fledged Windows machine out of the box, which means you have more choice out of the box than you do with, say, the Steam Deck. You can use Steam. You can even use Steam in big picture mode, which is essentially, which is pretty similar to what the SteamOS interface does. But then you can do Epic Games. You can do Xbox Game Pass and the Microsoft Store, and just write your own right? There's all kinds of capabilities. Plus, it's a Windows 11 computer, so you can use Word and PowerPoint and all kinds of other things on it as well. Plus, the specs on it are pretty fantastic. In particular, where it totally outshines the Steam Deck is that its 8.8-inch screen has a resolution of 2560 by 1600, as opposed to the 720 screen that's on the Steam Deck, which I think is going to be very popular for gamers. And starting price is at $699, so it's not an inexpensive device, but they have put a significantly better screen on it. I don't know. I'm torn on it, Abram, because a lot of people who bought the Steam Deck have said it's now collecting dust.
Interesting. So, so first of all, I want to say that if you want to see some more detail and some pictures, I don't think your article has any first person original pictures in it.
Yeah.
We have some on Tom's Hardware because Andrew Friedman, our PCs editor, had the chance to go meet with Lenovo and actually try it.
Super jealous.
I didn't get to go that day, but he did. So his impression of it is that it was a little heavy compared to the Steam Deck. I mean, when we're talking heavy, we're talking that it's about 0.4 of a pound heavier. So, not, I don't know how serious it is. It's 1.88 pounds versus 1.47 pounds. And the ROG Ally, Asus ROG Ally is 1.34 pounds.
Okay.
So, this is so.
And that one we missed when we were off as well. That was going to be one of our topics.
Right. So what what the broader topic is that people seem to want this form factor, or I should say, companies seem to think people want it. Um, I think the Steam Deck has gotten, I mean, it's a good question. I don't know what the sort of like retention is. I mean, where have you read that people aren't using them?
Um, even from reporters, some of your colleagues, some of the other sites have even written about how they were excited when they bought them, and now they're sitting on a shelf. I know a couple of friends. Alante is the exception, but I know a couple of friends that were carrying them around with them all the time when they first got them. For people who have been around for a while, Audie was carrying hers around every time I saw her, and I haven't seen it recently.
Um,
It it definitely faded quickly. It may not have faded entirely. Obviously, Alante is a great example of that, but it the usage seems to have
so,
slowed, and
do these same
who
people
knows
play
why.
Switch? Do these same
Um,
people play Nintendo Switch?
yes. In fact, I've seen Audie with her Switch around more recently than I have with the Steam Deck.
So, so what that suggests is that the form factor, the
Uh huh.
idea is a solid one.
Mm-hmm.
The problem is what can you is the titles that you can play
Right.
on it.
Right. Which
Right.
seems like what Lenovo is going after here, right? The limitation with the Steam Deck out of box, again, you can wipe it and put Windows on it.
Right.
But out of box, the experience is limited to Steam and Linux.
Yeah.
Linux games
So,
on Steam.
so
Although it's a
interest.
great device for Xbox Game Pass, from what I understand.
So, for what it's worth, my son has a Nintendo Switch, right? And we play it together a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And like that form factor is fantastic, but the games obviously have to be made for it, and a lot of PC games are made to be used with keyboard and mouse.
Right.
So, so you need, the games have to really like be made for that kind of dual
Support
stick,
controller.
and they have to really be controller friendly
Yeah.
games. But the what we do find with the Switch, and maybe this is happening more and more lately, which suggests to me that Nintendo should, maybe come out with a new Switch after all these years with
Sounds like
more,
sounds like they're working on it.
like a faster one, because we
A
have
second
had
a second
games.
gen.
I mean, it's certainly time, right?
Yeah.
We have had games that we have played on it where they lag, like where we get like like huge performance issues. Like we had a game we were playing today that we really enjoy called Gigabash, um, which apparently was originally a PC game. Um, really fun game. You can play co-op, and it's like like kaiju, and you can fight each other or fight in co-op and go through levels or whatever. Not a very complicated game, but
Sure.
not very high graphic, not very fancy graphics. But if you get enough enemies on the screen at once, it starts to get very, very laggy. Um, so, and it's a game that was originally made for PC.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, oh, if you could just turn the performance up a little bit,
Mm-hmm.
it would probably be okay, and it wouldn't have those lag situations. So,
Well,
um,
there's also issues in there where the way they ported the game could be a problem. Because there's multiple
right,
ways to do it. If it's a port instead of a rewrite, if it's a port, it can cause
right,
performance
that's
issues too, and yeah.
that's possible too. I mean, we had issues like that with, for example, with Minecraft Dungeons, which we played on it, which we liked a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I can see why people would want the form factor, and I could see
Yeah.
why people would want the freedom of playing PC games on it. This is much more expensive than a Switch, though, at $699,
Yeah.
and they should be thinking of themselves more as competing with the Switch than as competing with uh, the Steam Deck, because I mean, I understand that a lot of people are their console gamers or their PC gamers, or they like certain games on the console and certain games on the PC. But this form factor really sort of says like, hey, I want the type of game I would play on a console,
Yeah.
and if you're going to do that, then $700 is a lot of money.
Yeah.
I mean,
To start,
maybe people to
to
start.
start, it's important to note. So this starts at $699 and I think tops out at $1099. The Steam Deck starts at $399 and tops out at $649. So even the top model of the Steam Deck is $50 less than the bottom model of this one.
Yeah, it just seems like, and what is this Switch? $300?
Depends on the model, but yeah, I think they're $299 and $349 or $369.
Right. If you want like the OLED one. So,
Yeah, or
I mean,
$199 for the light.
oh, that's right. The Switch Lite or
Yeah,
whatever with the you can't take the Joy Cons off.
yeah,
Um,
which we do not recommend with
right,
the drift issues.
right. Well, that's the thing is one thing that Lenovo is doing with this is so these are detachable, which the
Mm-hmm.
Steam Deck is not.
Right.
So that gives you the possibility of being able to replace them, which is nice. Plus, they say that they're using a Hall effect sensor that
Mm-hmm.
would help avoid drift. So,
Right.
um, so good for them for trying to address that issue. Because
Mm-hmm.
if you're going to spend this kind of money on something where the sticks are built in, you want to make sure that uh, you're not leaving people in the lurch if the sticks start to fail after a few
Yeah.
months. So, I mean, eh, yeah. I mean, I like this idea. I think it's a little expensive. Maybe part of the issue is the cost of getting all those components and getting them down into that small size. Uh, Also, they went for a 2K 144 hertz screen.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, I don't know if they needed that much resolution. Um, I mean, this certainly would make them stand out by having a better screen, but
Sure.
I think I'd rather have it smaller and lower resolution. I mean, why do you need that much resolution on a screen that small?
So it's
Like, you're not going to
interesting.
get the benefit with the PPI.
So it's interesting. Adam, one of our coaches over at Strike, um, talks about resolution in gaming and having a high resolution monitor and playing your games in 720 because you get um, more surface area on which to click. You get it's fascinating.
I mean, I guess yeah, everything's bigger, so you're going to be easier to hit your target. But on an 8-inch screen or a 9-inch screen or whatever, like you're not going to run it like 2560 by 1600. That's a lot,
Yeah.
right? I mean, I know on phones now we're used to having phone screens that are ridiculously high resolution
Mm-hmm.
that really don't need to be. But I mean, and listen, I'm a fan of high resolution, believe me. But
We were
I
going to
think
create
that
the
with it,
we were going to create the group within the CTA to get rid of 1366 laptops.
I mean, 3066 laptops are a horror, but like now you get to there is a point of diminishing returns, and that point is when you have an 8.8-inch screen. Like for the Windows desktop, being able to have like 1080p is good, although you would probably have to turn up the scaling
Mm-hmm.
if you were actually looking at the Windows desktop on it. But 2K, I mean, even on a 14-inch screen, 2K resolution is hard to see unless you up the scaling dramatically, at which point you've lost a lot of the benefit. So, but the processing power that you need to drive that 2560 by 1600 and 144 hertz, they're not going to get it out of an AMD Ryzen Z1 Extreme,
Mm-hmm.
right? I mean, at best, maybe they can play games at 1080. Um, and definitely probably not 1080 144 hertz unless they're playing a really old game. So uh, yeah, I mean, I think the screen is overkill. Um, so I mean, I'm sure.
I want to put one in my hands.
I mean,
I
it seems like fun. It seems like fun. It seems like, I mean, we see this form factor is something that people want.
Yep.
I think it's a little. I think it's a little heavy and expensive. The
Hmm.
RG Ally is also quite expensive.
Yeah.
I think you need to get. I think to compete with Steam Deck, you really probably need to be $500 or less, um,
Probably.
because at that point, people who might be buying a Switch would be saying like, "Well, this is better than the Switch. I'm getting to play my PC games or whatever." Um, so, on the other hand, games that were made for the Switch, first of all, you get to play Nintendo games that you can't
Hmm.
play on PC.
True.
You know, you can't play any of that IP. And second of all, games that have been ported to the Switch are supposed to be able to run on that hardware, whereas a lot of the stuff for Steam Deck, you know, you can try to run things on it that aren't optimized for it, but you know, and that's the beauty of the PC ecosystem. But you know, you can't be guaranteed that they'll all work. So
Yeah.
they'll all work well. So
That's the key.
um, right. So I mean, there's obviously a desire
Yeah.
in the marketplace for people to have the Nintendo Switch form factor to play PC games.
Yeah.
Um, and I think that's great. It's a lovely form factor. So, you know, I think that's great. I'm glad to see somebody else getting into another company getting into the marketplace. Um, Maybe we'll see even more. But I think people, I think they're still trying to figure out what consumers really want.
Uh huh.
But my guess is they probably want it lighter than this. They probably want it lighter, a little bit smaller and lighter than this.
Yeah. Yeah. Either way, I want to put my hands on it. And to your comment about um, seeing more of these, I suspect right now it's the big guys that are putting their hands in the pot. But my guess is at CES we're gonna see everybody putting their hands in the pot. Everybody's gonna
Well,
wanna.
it's already, but those have already existed. There's a bunch on Amazon. I'm trying to,
Yeah.
that are like basically little known Chinese brands that have been doing this kind of stuff for years, and they're very expensive. Like they're
Yes.
very very expensive. So
Right.
those are like $1,000 plus to be clear, right? Uh, so
But I
you know,
suspect what we'll see is maybe the second tier brands and the non-computer brands, maybe the accessory brands who are going to license in and stuff like that. I suspect that we'll see stuff like that start coming to market, or at least be announced during CES this year. Once they see, the Steam Deck sold out, they were back ordered. We'll see what happens with this and its sidekick. Um, the weird PlayStation Portal probably won't have PlayStation's Wii U.
I mean,
Probably won't have any bearing on it. But if they see a couple of successes, you might see some of the traditional accessory manufacturers start getting into the game.
well, I want to see if Alienware is going to get into the game because they almost did. They
Yes, they
had a
did.
concept UFO
Mm-hmm.
that was pretty well good to go, and they decided not to come out with it. So, um, like they're the natural companies that you should expect to be getting into this are not Lenovo. Is not Lenovo, maybe Asus, but more likely Alienware, Razer, um,
I was gonna say Razer because they had one too.
Alienware, and Razer. Well, Razer have one that was basically it was an
Well,
Android one.
they had a CES prototype that never came to market.
Uh, right. Oh, and by the way, Razer actually did at one time was the pioneer. They actually had. I'm trying to remember what it was called. Was it called the Razer Blade or something? Like 10 years ago, they had and they sold it like a PC, um, a PC screen with like two joysticks, but it was huge. It was like 12 inches or something like that. I'm trying to remember, and it didn't really go anywhere. But they did come out with it actually.
The Razor Edge Game,
Yeah,
I think was the name of it. But it had its own problems because it was running a Qualcomm Snapdragon processor,
right.
which create as you have noted over the years, the experience on it, if you're not just trying to run Android, is very different.
Right.
Windows on ARM has been questionable at best.
But
So they, trying to succeed with that was going to be a challenge anyway.
I'll tell you what nobody wants. Nobody wants an Android gaming console. Nobody wants that. Stop. We've seen
Correct.
it time and again.
Oh yeah.
Don't make it happen. Please stop. Like nobody cares. Android gaming is the problem is it's full of free to play PC games that are just trying to kind of get you to pay a little extra to buy something else. It's a different kind of experience, the phone gaming ecosystem, and just like people don't want to invest more money to play the games that they play on their phone.
So a reborn Nokia Engage is not going to be in your future.
No, I don't think anybody wants. I like we've seen companies do it or want to do it because it's easy enough for them to just basically take a phone processor and put that experience into that form factor. But I think that's terrible.
Yeah.
I mean, what people want is they want the Windows ecosystem, or barring that, like they want, the Steam ecosystem, or barring that, something that's like a really good catered game system like Nintendo.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. The weird exceptions of Android powered fake Game Boys that you can actually pop a Game Boy cartridge into, things like that. That's a whole like very specialty thing. But it's not just an Android phone with controllers. It's not a Nokia Engage, and that concept. I think Nokia proved that concept in the first heyday of handheld gaming. Nokia proved that wasn't going to be the win. So I want to put my hands on it. I'm going to reserve some of my judgment until I have one in my hand on weight, on performance, and things like that. Hopefully I will be able to do that at some point. Worst case scenario, they do become available October 23rd of this year. So, 7 weeks or so from now. So maybe I'll head down to a retailer and see if I can put my hands on one if they end up in stores. But it's an interesting concept, and we'll see what comes of it. Hello, YouTube. Thanks for watching, and I hope you enjoyed this episode of F5 Live, Refreshing Technology. If you did, please subscribe to the channel down below, and of course hit the notification bell, because we know that subscriptions don't mean much on YouTube anymore. If you've got topics that you'd like us to talk about in the future, please comment them down below. And if you'd like to not follow us on YouTube, there's lots of ways that you can follow along with our content by going to plughitslive.com/subscribe. There you'll see all of our shows and all of the ways that you can watch, listen, and follow along.